Alright, so welcome back to the channel. Apologies about the lights flickering. I'm going to try and get some better lights and sort that out, or work out how to prevent that from happening. It's a tad annoying, but I'll try and get it sorted. So I've got some motivation. I'm going to do some work on Blue Calais. Got heaps to do, so I might as well get started and get this project finished. As you know, early model Commodores are renowned for melting the fuse rails. Now you can buy the replacement fuse rails for it, and you can slap that in, but the fuse rail itself is not the reason why the actual fuse rail is melting. So the reason it's melting is you've got too much current running through that particular circuit, and then that appropriate fuse that relates to that circuit can't handle it. It starts to heat up, and that's what causes your fuse rail to melt. So just replacing the fuse rail itself isn't actually going to prevent the issue, because you're not actually addressing the source of the issue. So if you are going to replace your fuse rail because it is melted, you need to find out the reason why it's doing that. So normally it's the high beam circuit, and the reason why that normally melts out is because people put too high wattage globes in the high beam, and it draws too much current and starts heating up that fuse and melts the fuse rail. So obviously with VLs they have shit lights, so the temptation is always there to put different wattage globes in it to get brighter lights. You're best off upgrading the wiring system itself to handle those higher wattage globes. So this Calais has your standard typical melted fuse rail, so we're going to replace it today. It's pretty straightforward. However, what I'm replacing it with today is not your standard factory or new old stock or replica fuse rail. So I've actually got a quite unique printed circuit board fuse rail. So I've used one of these before in the white car with great success, and I have no issues whatsoever with it melting. It's actually a lot more heavy duty than the factory plastic ones, and I rate them very highly. So I believe the fellow who makes them is named Niche. I'm not sure if he still actually sells them or not. I actually bought a few of these a few years ago when I had an opportunity to. So I snapped a couple up, knowing that I was always going to have some sort of VL project going on, and I just think that they're fantastic. They also have like LED lights and stuff like that that light up when your fuse blows. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's a lot heavier, goes in the factory position. You just hook the bottoms on with like spade connectors. I normally just start at one end and work my way down, and yeah, it's pretty painless, pretty straightforward. Just be very methodical when you do it, and you should have no dramas. The one that's been in my white car has been in there for a few years now, and I've had no issues whatsoever. So I'll show you this fuse rail. I'll show you the damage to the factory one, and I'll go through the process briefly on how to put this bad boy in. Alright, so as you can see here, it's all starting to melt. I didn't do this, but back before I bought this car, you can see someone's wired in some heavy duty, like I guess they're resettable circuit breaker type things into those circuits. So I believe they're going to be one for the high beam, and whatever else this one is might be the fuel pump that's melted. So there's two of these, so I should be able to get rid of those today. What I've done is just gone through and marked all my relays for what the positions of them are as per the Gregory's manual. You could just use the back of your fuse box lid as well to mark them. I believe on the back of that it actually uses letters of the alphabet to mark where they are. Note, the reason why I've done this is because a lot of this actual fuse rail itself and these I'm going to have to pull out of the way so I can lift this rail up and get access to all the wires at the bottom. So let's do that. Alright, so I got the fuse rail pulled out. I didn't have to remove any of these at this stage. I found a nice little sneaky one hidden. I believe it's for the low beam at the start. I got one that's kind of bridged off another power wire here, so I find that a bit strange. I might just leave that one for now and just work on the others until I've got the patience to work out what they've done here and the reasons why. It's pretty much just making sure you keep the colors the same, and like I said, start at one end and be methodical. I'm going to go through and I'm going to snip these. I'm going to put spade connectors on it, and then probably mark them and just plug them straight into the new rail and go from there. Alright, so I just quickly realized that some of the spade connectors that I have, they don't have a big enough gauge or internal diameter where the wire is actually meant to go through before I crimp it. So I'm just going to do a quick run to J-Car in the white VL and go pick up some more spade connectors, and then I can come back and start doing this job. Alright, I'm back. Got a shitload more spade connectors. You want to get the shielded ones because you don't want stuff arcing out underneath the fuse rail. So bought some yellow for the big gauge, and then I've got the blue ones, red ones for the smaller gauge. There's a whole bunch of different gauge wires that go to that fuse rail, so need to cover all bases. So let's start a cutting and let's start a stripping. Right, I've spent a fair bit of time going through and stripping wires, crimping spade connectors and all that kind of stuff. I've got it all labelled. I've got the old one cut out, and see there where she started to melt. And now I just need to line up all the numbers, and yeah, I'm pretty much done. Alright, so I've got it all connected up at the bottom. As you can see here, it's a bit of a bird's nest, a bit of a nightmare. But now I just got to get it into the fuse box and find some screws to put it down. I've just had to go through and then make sure every one of these is tight. And it all appears to be, so let's slap this thing down. Alright, so fuse rail's in and looks good. So let's hope it works. Alright, so new fuse rail is in, stoked. Took a couple of hours to do, pain in the ass, but I'm glad I did it. Old one, no longer. I'm gonna throw that bad boy in the bin. Next, I'm gonna start tackling, I think, the wiring harness. So next I'm gonna start tackling the wiring harness. So I've got a Link G4X plug-in to go into this thing. Utilizes the factory harness, although I need to run some additional sensors like inlet air temperature. I'm going to wire in a oil pressure sensor, wideband, that kind of stuff. So that should be an interesting video to go through that. Put the G4X motherboard into a factory computer and do all that kind of stuff. I've got a list on my little whiteboard here of the things that I need to do to get this car running, and I'm slowly ticking those things off. So stay tuned for next time. Be good and peace.